NASA Space Apps Challenge is an event where teams get together and work on challenges presented by NASA and other space agencies about all their information that they've collected via satellites and other resources. They have a lot of stuff that can be remixed and reused in different ways. And so that's what Space Apps Challenge is all about. And it happens over a course of 48 hours. This year it's happening October 2nd and 3rd. And it's actually the 10th event. So they have 10 space agencies working together. These are from all around the world. And they are all going to present challenges that you can work on and submit your ideas. And we'll take a look at some of the past winners in just a moment. But before we do that, I just want to mention a couple things. So their challenges this year, they already have, if I go to the spaceappschallenge.org website, and I go to challenges here, you'll see some summaries of the projects that they already have in mind. Of course, it says right here that the full challenge statements and resources won't be posted until the middle of September. So as they get closer to the actual event, they'll have a little bit more information. But here you can kind of already see that they're really going towards people of all ages. This one here is youth friendly, artfully illuminated asteroids. So we'll find out what that means. And as you go through these, you see not a lot of information, but there's some just kind of summaries, as I mentioned, about what the project or challenges might be about. So it's pretty exciting that they've already released this. Once again, this is on spaceappschallenge.org. And let's jump in and see what some of the previous year's winners were like. This is all the things we're looking at in our first unit. We've covered all these different topics, and the ones here in orange are all the different ones, the spotlights of the winners. I put it here as a winner's showcase. So there's a total of 9 of them that we take a look at, and then we have also worked with the kids, kind of talked about how we could create something similar, or kind of expand upon thinking about our ideas, if we have our own ideas, how to show and showcase those. So let's take a look at our first one. This is a brother and sister team. This is from 2018. They won for their project called Deep Space Musical, and they worked together. They were already familiar with Python, and they were able to take Python. And this is a working prototype, so they actually could code it in that amount of time. And their idea is taking an image. In this case, we have the pillars of creation, converting it into grayscale, and mapping those into different numbers, and creating a song. And so that is their project in a nutshell. So these kids here, I'll give you a little background story on these two. They actually, this is their 4th year that they had tried it. So every year they'd come back, and they it took them several years to win, but they kept working on it. So and they're I think they were middle school by the time they won that award, and now they've since actually become judges, which is really cool. They were judges on the team. So NASA frequently spotlights them because they're representing like tomorrow's kids, which is really cool. They're a brother and sister team from Canada.
You mean the kids become judges?
Yeah. They sit. Well, they're much older now, because that was several years ago. So
yeah,
they're but in the last video that they're talking about, they talk about how they actually got to judge in I think it was Las Vegas local competition that they had. All right, so this is their team here. This is their video. Kind of they quickly talk about it. So but you can hear a little bit of kind of the sounds. It's kind of, I don't know if you guys can hear it.
他们是用 Python 进行了编程。我们听到了。
This is what it sounds like. Let's see if I can make it. Here we go. It's really quiet.
Oh, cool.
But this one here, this is their team. Their team was called Starstruck, and so this is another working prototype. Once again, with the kids, we kind of showed that they did have working prototypes that people made. Their teams did win, but there's a next few that they're just more like the ideas, and that's what we're going to be focusing on with the kids. We don't expect them to do a full-on fledged Unity. Like, these are college kid students here, so they're all familiar with Unity and be able to do really complex things. But that, I'm sure there was really a lot of many hours for these kids. Kids, I mean, they're college kids, but you know what I mean. But theirs is a a planet designer program that you can create a planet and add some different elements and see how the planet would react and how it would look in space. So this is a Unity program that they created.
Amazing. 我们有这一节课, so we have this class, right?
A lesson, a scratch version of it, a little bit not as complex that we kind of went through with some of the kids, but their version here, they actually have here's their live app. So they, once again, it's a working app, but these type of things are really complex, and their team, they'd already been working together for a long time. So this one here, this isn't a working app, but it's talking about these are high schoolers from New York. This team here, Team Twilight, and this is their vision of how this app would work, on how to get people more involved. In it, you would be able to pick an animal as a representation, and you're saving the animal, and you're playing. It's almost like Pokemon Go, except you're cleaning up virtual litter, and you can see using satellite data how that would impact where you are, and then some other ways of getting people involved. So that's kind of their idea in a nutshell as well.
So this one is not a real application like the Unity one, right? This is more
exactly.
Like an idea.
So this one here is another prototype. Once again, it's not a working app. It's visions of like how the app would look. And so this just walks through a few screens, but their main idea is getting kids involved with moon exploration. And in it, you would be able to take your photo. This is a sample photo of a kid taking a picture of himself. And then he'd be able to go on the moon and pick different moon activities. So once again, this is just a prototype. They're just talking about in this one about how their app would work.
This is not a finished one. This is a demo again, right?
Yeah, prototype.
Okay.
Just a demo prototype. It's not an app yet. This next one here, this is from last year. This is one. It's a really cool concept called AI Heroes, and this is the team here that created it. And in this one, this is a nice cleaner version of what their idea is. Their idea is to take the technologies that exist out there of using, making someone come alive from the past. So here's a picture of Albert Einstein, taking that, making him talk in whatever ways that a chat box would do. And then you're talking with a virtual AI version of Albert Einstein, and then showing current concepts of things we know nowadays. And they have for a bunch of different people throughout history, whether it's Marie Curie about radioactivity, Isaac Newton with gravity, mathematics, or landing on the moon, and a bunch of other famous individuals too, even Stephen Hawking talking about other theories too, and comparing their moment, what they thought, their discoveries throughout history, and showing what it is now. But the other benefit is that you'd be able to talk to these people and about the virtual Albert Einstein and find out about his life and things like that. Really fun. I like this idea a lot. These are more other types of things that weren't necessarily apps. So we try to cover many different things that different teams have done throughout time. This one is more of like a hands-on. So this one they designed. They're talking about. They actually were talking with someone aboard the International Space Station. This is from 2014. And they actually made a prototype of an outfit that it inflates. Well, I don't think the inflation part worked, but this part works where it has a patch that lights up when the ISS is over them. So the idea is getting people connected. So this is more of this guy and his team of people, actually creating the coding and also being able to make an outfit. So that's more of a hands-on type of a project, which NASA might include as well this year. Who knows?
But I think it's still idea. It cannot be real work, right?
Yeah. It's all in prototype phase. Their other ideas were that it would inflate, so to give them a hug. I don't know if that got working, but I love that idea that it can inflate. So if they're wearing this on the International Space Station, someone from Earth could send them a virtual hug, and it inflates and gives them a little hug. I thought that was really funny. But the main thing we talked about with the kids in this particular project is designing and thinking about design ideas and how to incorporate that. One of their other ideas that isn't possible yet, but maybe in the future someday, is that they'd have a 3D printer that was like attached in their pocket, and it could print out little toys sent from home.
Oh, cool.
This one here is a 3D model. So actually it showed the kids some basic 3D modeling stuff, but that can get a little complicated. But this idea here is this team, they built basically satellites, when they run out of fuel, they all have different connections on how they could be refueled. So their idea is, what if you had a universal connector that works with electricity? So this type of product is something they designed. They had some 3D designers in their team, and then you could connect it and it could repower things or send fuels and take out old fuels. And that's what we're seeing here, some liquids or gases. So that's their idea in a 3D modeling format.
So it's a space connector or spaceship connector?
A space connector for, it could be for spaceships, but their idea was mostly for satellites to
Oh,
extend the lives of the satellite. So that a satellite, often if it runs out of power, it just floats and, you know, explodes or whatever it does, you know, burns up in the atmosphere. But if you could refuel it with these type of universal connectors that works everywhere, like a standardized plug, that would be really useful. So that was their main idea.
that's super cool. I think this is adult team, right?
Yes, they have like a working prototype. Like this is one that they 3D printed themselves, and then they show how it could work, this idea. Along,
Okay.
you know, so, but the main idea we got with this, and we also had them kind of explore, at least try it out, 3D space with Tinkercad. We did that for a lesson as well, to get a little bit of exposure for kids. And some kids really liked it, you know, to be able to create a 3D object. They had never done that before. So that was what we kind of did as another option of creating. Yeah, so these teams are all, I mean, this team here is from England, and this one here is from Russia. And this
Okay.
team here, these are some younger kids. These are 17, 18-year-olds here. I believe these guys are from the US. So these guys here, this team they also did a 3D model design of how you could, you know, protect from the space dust. When space dust kind of floats around and it can be really sharp, it's not like weathered like it is here on Earth, like sand can do with wind. There is no wind on the moon, so it gets really sharp and they could damage equipment. So their idea is to use, you know, the electromagnetic design, and that has a filter that absorbs, it attracts these little particles and protects or repels from things like suits or something like that. So that was their idea here.
I have a question, Matt. So does this project contain some coding? I think it's kind of like just animation or something.
Yeah, this one, no, it doesn't. I mean, they talk about more about the modeling. So they're kind of, what's nice, they put this on their website part so that you can see their ages here, 17 and 18-year-olds, mostly 17. And most of them were familiar with modeling and a little bit of engineering concepts. So a lot of their stuff, a lot of these things are just using imagery of like their ideas. Hey, this is our problem. Here's our solution. We know that this already exists for repelling things. Maybe if there's a design that does this or this, that might help. And that was kind of their entire project, and that it won an award as well back in 2019.
So I have a question, Matt. So
Yeah.
you can submit a project with no coding. Can you do that?
Yeah, this one here doesn't have any coding associated with it. Same, this one actually doesn't either. I think they might refer to data that is released from a lot of the research that they had, like you on the pages you talk about, you know, some of the ideas that you are using from NASA, and they cited a lot of articles about you know, the evolving space junk that's kind of happening out there in NASA. But a lot of their stuff is more about the design of it. So these last two here don't use any coding at all. This one has a little bit of coding because there is a, you know, something that they do with Arduino, actually, is what this is made from. It has like a little LED strip in it. You know, it's made with an Arduino type of technology. But this one is more about the concept. It doesn't code anything. I mean, they put together a prototype, but like I said, the prototype doesn't really work. It's more about showing their ideas and you know, referring to other technologies that's already out there. But they didn't program a working Albert Einstein that could talk, but because that would be really complex. But they talk about their ideas with this one. Same thing for Kid on the Moon. A lot of these ones, like these, they're not really doing the coding. They're just showcasing their idea on how you could create these apps. Space apps has evolved a lot. It used to be, like you said, just coding based, but now it's more about designing. How can we incorporate these things that NASA is providing in a way that's remixing it and making it useful in a different level. This last one's a cool idea. They did have like a prototype. It doesn't. I don't think it works. I'm not really sure if it does or not. But they talked about theoretically how it could work. But I think they did some sort of basically what they're doing is they're taking a style. So in this case, you have an app. They kind of walk through like a fake prototype app. You choose an art, you choose some information. In this case, it's using satellite data about pollution. And instead of just seeing a data that's kind of boring, it adds the colors from this and incorporates it. So we see here that you can create products like a t-shirt, and their idea is that you can even have maybe there's a marketplace and you can sell it and everybody can have their own data that they've remixed using art as an influence to represent data. And they talk about how it could be possible, and they might have done something, but their app I don't think is a working version. It's more about in this case, once again, it's more about the concept of how you could use this data and make it into something new.